Well, if you want to educate young kids of the effects, the negative effects of drugs on your body, make them watch this movie. Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Anthony, here to give you guys another movie review. This time it is for the new horror film, In the Earth. So, I saw In the Earth in the theaters, in the big screen. I think it was a bad idea. And I'm not saying because I didn't enjoy the movie, which I didn't enjoy the movie, but I think it was a bad idea in the sense that they give you a warning of this movie may cause you epilepsies. You know, if you have a history with epilepsy, then this movie can potentially trigger that. And I can understand why, because this movie was a trip in the theaters. They're playing like loud noises and like fast editing, and they're trying to simulate like a psychosis trip, right? And I get what they're doing, I just don't know if it was effective. As the world searches for a cure to a devastating virus, that sounds familiar, a scientist and a park scout venture deep into the forest for a routine equipment run. This movie is pretty much like a Cheech and Chong like horror film. And particularly because there's like a guy that looks like Chong or Cheech, which one is the two? The dude from Evil Bong, you know, the guy that has the original Evil Bong, that guy. So he looks like that dude, but like with an axe and like, you know, murdering people and stuff, you know. So there's that about this movie, and there's the whole psychedelic trip, and like there's mushrooms farting in the wind, and there's just so much stuff going on. I don't know where to begin, but I know one thing for sure is that I was not enjoying my time in movie theaters. Before I go full ham on this movie and tell you all the bad stuff about it and why I hate it, I will tell you that there is some positives in this film. The cinematography, for one, is excellent in this. I particularly like when horror films go into like the woods and they do some like kind of cool stuff with the woods, because the woods themselves are scary. And in this movie, there's supposedly like a being or some kind of intelligent force or something in the woods. And I like how they paint a picture of it, like literally paint a picture of it, and they show us like some kind of thing being worshipped and everything. You know, I was kind of disappointed by the end of the reveal of the monster, but we'll get into that later. In general, it's kind of like a no-brainer and a kind of like a easy shot to do when you're in the woods and you're making a horror film, but they do a good job here, and I like the cinematography. Also, the performances I thought were pretty decent, but the one standout is Ellora Torchia. I thought she was great in this film. She kind of is the only person that, you know, kind of keeps me from like leaving the theater, from walking out of the theater, because I want to know what her character is going to end up doing in this movie. Again, the ending though, I don't know if it was worth it. But let's get into the cons about this movie, guys. And there's a lot. There's quite a few. Actually, I don't know if there's a lot. I think there's just one big thing that I had a problem with. But let's get into it. So the first thing is, I mean, I don't know if this is necessarily a con, but this is kind of a typical artsy-fartsy art house film, you know? I feel like when I walked into this movie and, you know, as the movie was going on and as I was getting like a psychedelic trip, I was like, okay, I know this movie is trying to tell you something, and they're trying to tell you something in a certain way, and the way I describe it is the art house way, the art house film way. And you could say off the bat, well, if you don't like those kind of films, then you shouldn't be watching it. I didn't really know that that's what this movie was going to go as, you know. Again, I watched the trailer for this movie, so it didn't really give me the impression that it was going to be an art house film. And I know that trailers aren't always like, you know, the best way to go into a film, you know, the best way to gauge a film, but you know, I was hoping just turned out to be like this. Also, the editing in this movie is, I thought it was weird. You know, I'm not going to take anything away from the director, you know, his choices, you know, he made those choices, he wanted to do that, that's fine, you know, take chances. I'm all for directors taking chances. They don't always work out, and I'm just a person that watched the movie, just one person that watched the movie. It's just my opinion. It didn't really work for me. There were scenes where they would cut to black randomly. If it reminds me of this game I'm playing recently called Outriders, and they do that a lot. It just kind of took me out of the movie. It just gave me time to think. and I know you probably would think that that's what they want you to do in this movie. They want you to think, but in my case, I was like, okay, what the heck is going on? Is this good? This isn't good. It just created a lot of opportunities for like awkwardness to me, because there's like literally scenes where people are just like talking and then they'll cut, like a hard cut, and then they'll talk but they're like right next to each other, so they could have just done like a wide shot of them just talking instead of just like going back and forth. But again, I think that's what the director was going for, and I kind of understood why he did the choices that he did. It just didn't work for me. Also, there's just some basic storytelling stuff in here that doesn't get explained, it doesn't get told, because they're going into the woods, they're trying to locate somebody, and there's like stuff in the middle, I guess you can call them plot holes, that they don't really explain, that they could have just said one line, just one line. They could have said like, oh, I talked to her on this day, and it could have opened up and it could have cleared out so much stuff in this movie. And finally, the last thing that kind of got on my nerves, kind of grinded my gears, was the payoff, the lackluster payoff for this movie. You know, we're building up to this big monster, this big being that's in the movie. And I know a lot of horror fans don't like when you reveal the monster too soon. That kind of defeats the purpose of the movie, kind of takes you out of it. But for this movie, you know, we're building a lot for this monster, for this thing to show up. And then the payoff that we get, it's total disappointment. It's not good at all. But hey, that is just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. I think a lot of people actually like this film. I think as of reviewing this movie right now, it's a certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. But you know, that's just Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know who cares about that kind of stuff. But the most important thing is let me know what you guys think of In the Earth in the comments down below. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you think it's a good idea to watch this movie in the theaters? Because I personally don't. And also check out my Twitter so you can stay up to date with my channel. And remember guys, keep watching movies.